Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. I'm super excited today since we left off last week on an absolute cliffhanger, and it was. Um, so the Soviets pushed their ship too far, a ship whose design they stole from NASA with the absolute help and cooperation of Margot. Um, and at least three people are dead as a result of the rescue mission with NASA, the Sojourner crew. One cosmonaut and two astronauts, plus the drama of the cosmonauts being aboard with a defector, with an astronaut who was a cosmonaut who defected in season two. I think they should be a little bit more gracious. You just got saved, and it was completely your fault. Um, I kind of feel like you see those YouTube videos of people doing incredibly brutal stunts for internet clout, and then when they get hurt, if they were to like go off on the EMTs who had to come and rescue them, which is essentially what this was. I'm kind of curious not only about the logistics. Obviously, this is the, this is the stuff I like on the show. I love the character stuff. It really enriches the show, and we have great characters and great character development arcs throughout the show. But the plot heavy stuff is really exciting as far as when we really focus on the science of the show. And this, for me, is where I really get excited, which is where we're at. I'm kind of curious, character wise, if Margot is going to actually feel or express any compunction whatsoever, because this is ultimately largely, not exclusively, but largely her fault. Not intentional, but you know what? Unintended consequences are still consequences. She gives the Russians their design to keep herself out of trouble, and the result is they're able to compete. They push the engine. They need a rescue. Now people are dead. So I'm not blaming her at all. Well, not mostly. Obviously, you have to blame the Soviets mostly, but Margot played a fair share in that. And since she's our main character linked to this whole mess, yeah, the question's important. What's Margot going to do, and what are the consequences for Margot going to be? And I think there are going to be some, but I'm not going to harp too much on that because the show is going to reveal that as we move forward. We're about at the halfway point here. My guess, as I said at the end of the last episode, is now Sojourner is too damaged to either go on to Mars or maybe even to return to Earth. So I do think Phoenix and Ed are going to have to come back and rescue everybody to where all three crews are going to end up on Phoenix. It makes sense. It's the largest ship by far. Um, so I feel like that's where everyone's going to end up. And then I feel like by the time it's done, there's the mathematical question of, is it safer to return to Earth, or if we reached a point where it's actually safer to go to Mars, regroup, make fuel for the return trip back to Earth. I can foresee a whole lot of offloading of and combining of supplies among at least Phoenix and Sojourner. I doubt um, anything off the Soviet ship is going to be usable. Seems to be going into meltdown. But I think there'll be an opportunity for the Mars landing to still happen. Obviously, it's going to happen. We know it does because it happened in 1995 at the end of second season. But I do think it's going to happen with everybody on board kind of coming together to make it happen, which, that's just good writing. All right, we should jump into it. I'm going to go ahead and thank all of our Patreon subscribers for being here with us. And of course, a special shout out to Actuarial Lurker, Balaj Foldez, Chris, Jeff, Christy Goverston, NJ, Studio Gundavarapu, Weird Magic, Torgeir Linkstad, Derek Peterson, and Where Panda 47. Thank you so much, guys. We're very glad you're here with us. If you would like to see a full reaction to this and everything else we've watched or currently watching, please check out a link in the description below to our Patreon page on every show, including For All Mankind. We're at least 4 episodes ahead on Patreon, and we're on YouTube. So you can jump over there and keep going. You will have to sync and watch along on your own source material. You're only going to see and hear me for copyright purposes. Okay. 7 Minutes of Terror is the name of the episode. Great. Because it wasn't stressful in the last episode. Just so excited to jump into it today. Well, at least they're showing we're at least separated from the Soviet vessel, which is a nuclear meltdown. That's good.
Dr. Martin Luther King observed that there is democracy in death.
Oh, we're doing a funeral. I'm assuming there are 3 bodies there, right? It's kind of hard to tell. They only mentioned The two. What about the guy that got hit in the face and his mask cracked? I guess we'll obviously know in a second. For this show, I'm kind of surprised that like the last episode ended right in a moment of absolute chaos and tragedy. And when we start this episode, we've kind of skipped past the resolution of that, right? They weren't out of the woods really when the last episode ended. Now we're just kind of seeing like we got out of it. And I am curious about the extent of the damage to Sojourner.
Representatives of the Soviet space agency Roscosmos are arriving in Houston today to work with NASA on their now combined mission.
They're coming back though, right? Or are they still continuing on? We have two ships going. I like how they're keeping me in the dark a little bit. I also hate it.
Nonetheless, we will require your assistance.
I was told, I was assured that there would be no more requests.
Circumstances have changed.
You have to resign, Margot. Just resign. You don't have to say why. Just resign. We can't hand over half of the mission. It's just going to go on forever. It's like blackmail. You just can't do it. It is blackmail, actually.
From now on, I'm calling the shots. You've dishonored this crew, this ship, and Helios. I intend to wash that stain clean.
I think Ed is completely right. I also think that that kind of message can create more problems than it solves. I think he could have done without the message.
To maximize that.
Is that a resignation?
Karen, hold on a second.
Yeah, I think she's resigned. And then I get it. She's rich and doesn't need this crap.
My daughter is on Sojourner and she could have been killed.
But she wasn't.
But 3 other people were.
Yeah.
But I didn't ask anybody to move their launches up to 94. And I didn't ask the Russians to push their engines past their limits.
I agree with him on that.
LH2 quantity at 87%. Propellant.
Okay, so yep, this is still working. See, I thought with them they were actually having a meltdown, then it was going to happen, and the ship was just going to explode.
Спасибо.
No. Thank you.
Thank you. I was wondering if that was ever going to happen.
What for?
Saving your life.
For coming to our rescue.
Was this the guy that made the call that they were doing something stupid?
Promise.
Kelly, don't go fall in love with a cosmonaut. They'll revoke your security clearance. I mean, if they're going to take Ellen's for being gay, they'll take yours for this for sure. Oh, is this where we're going to figure out that this was actually NASA's design? Yep. Oh, it would be such a trip if Alita's the one who figured out what Margot did.
Once is happenstance. Twice is coincidence. 3 times is enemy action.
Yeah.
Those Russian pricks stole my design.
Boy, Margot seems really unsurprised at this conversation.
What are you telling me? I should walk down there to Miss Katish and throw a monkey wrench into a historic international space mission because of some measurements you took off a TV screen?
I'm starting to hate Margot.
Sojourner's about to make the final burn for Mars.
You're not getting away with this forever. Just, you're not. I'm starting to get a very Walter White vibe from Margot. I empathize a little because their thing coincided so much with his parents' death, so it's all muddled in his head and he's covered in trauma. But my God, man.
I lied to you.
But I know it was your only choice.
I don't think she's in any position to be self-righteous at this point.
He's got no fucking idea. Just looks at me with that big dumb grin.
Man, some of these characters are becoming really unlikable this season. Who did he confide in on this? Is it his brother?
Anyway.
Who seems to be joining a cult right now?
You don't want to hear this shit.
Well, honestly, I mean, maybe Helios didn't do it, but how did he pass a psychological pre-flight examination?
There's this writer, Ken Kesey, and he said each of us is like the star of our own movie.
Yeah, that's called narcissism.
Close we've always been.
Yeah, that's why I gotta say I was surprised when you got divorced.
He is treading on dangerous ground in this conversation.
Did you fuck around on her?
Oh my god, bro, shut up.
Oh my god. Karen?
Hit him in the face.
A one-time thing.
That's standard bullshit.
It's not.
She took a vow before God to always be faithful, then broke it.
Ed is taking this really well.
The older you get, the more you start to realize that things aren't always that simple. Forgiveness. Long, hard road, Danny.
Ed took this conversation way better than I would.
If you ever found out, think you could forgive him?
Never found out who it was. There'll be nothing left of him but a greasy spot on the carpet.
I don't think that should be the right answer, but I understand why he feels that way, and I also think he's absolutely going to find out. And Danny's not being very subtle anyway.
He's got to be using our numbers to keep from revealing his own.
Can't be. These don't come from the engines currently on Sojourner.
Margot, you're not going to talk her out of this. You're caught. She just doesn't know it's you. What are you even pretending to look at? You already know they're the same.
Somebody at NASA must have given them our design.
Right now, we need to focus on getting our astronauts safely down on Mars.
I'm not sure Margot's going to be in season 4.
Mars. The stakes could not be higher for both crews, as years, even decades of preparation and planning comes down to this moment.
I love how they built this tension to get them right there at the same time. This is good writing.
Too risky. Visibility's still below minimums. We'll try again for landing when we come back around in 2 hours.
So Danny's going to be safe, because she's awesome. Danielle, I should make that clear. Since you have Danny here too.
Go or no go in 8 seconds. 7, 6.
Button up, people. We're going straight in.
So Ed was, I guess, right. If Daniel's going to do it, then he was right to do it too.
I've lost altitude info. The altimeter can't see through the dust.
Oh my god, they can't see anything. Sounds like they landed just fine.
Sojourner has safely landed 8 human beings on Mars.
I mean, Ed was right.
And now we're going to finish what we started. I'm going to get you and your family over here, whatever it takes.
Yeah, well, what if whatever it takes is he rats out Margot?
And this time we came not alone, but with our former rival, working together as true partners.
I mean, it is Gorbachev and Reagan's gone at this point of the show. The Cold War might actually be ending.
No, I'm going first. That was the deal.
I remember no such deal.
Oh my god!
A cosmonaut
Unbelievable.
and an astronaut. They're going together. How inspiring.
That was great. Okay, that was a funny bit. Like the inspiring step together, and like how inspiring as they wrestle each other to the ground. Yeah, that cosmonaut really sucks. We got a little bit of that last season, but man, are they taking some serious shots at the Soviets in this show. Whew. And the private sector, apparently. What happened there? We're actually on Mars. Some guy, a cosmonaut, basically coming off of an American vessel, kind of tried to steal, kind of successfully did, Danielle's moment as the commander of the flight. There should be repercussions for that, but there should be a lot of repercussions happening. I kind of like the idea of Margot. Margot promised that Sergei and his family were going to get over to the safely to the United States. She's going to work it out. I think the only real way to make that happen is if Sergei gives up Margot, and she that may be what her plan eventually becomes. She's certainly trying to fend off Aleda about it. And assuming easily in the next episode that Ed and Phoenix crew's going to land. And we're only halfway through the season, so now that we're on Mars, there's a whole lot that's got to happen while they're on Mars. Things will go wrong, and then there's getting everybody back. I think at some point, Danny's obsession with Karen is going to boil over into something dangerous. I think Daniel was right about that. And I think Ed's going to find out. I mean, having that conversation, hello foreshadowing. Somehow, Ed is going to find out about Danny and Karen, and I'm kind of curious what his reaction is going to be. Does he react as a jilted ex-husband, or does he react as a mission commander and professional astronaut? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to it. I'll catch you in the next one, folks. Thank you.